Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In alhamdulillah. Wa salatu wa salamu ala ashraf al anbiya wa mursaleen. Sayyidina wa habibina al Mustafa. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. So how is everyone? Health, wealth, knowledge yourself. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been on here, about a month. So inshallah, we're working our way back. This is be week 16 of Suratul Kahf. Last time we gathered, we covered ayats 87 to 93. And so tonight, inshallah, we'll try to cover ayats 94 to 101. And then that will leave us with 9 more ayats to complete the surah. And so inshallah, we have completed the complete explanation of Suratul Kahf, inshallah, at the islet. So it'll be 2 more weeks in this class. And I'm thinking about, after we complete it, just kind of run through it a couple more weeks, just reading through it, highlighting some things from the surah and completing it one more time with a little condensed version. So what do you guys think about that? Anybody? Can y'all hear me on there?
I think that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just kind of run through it because we still want to do our salawat, inshallah. So we'll keep doing that, and maybe we'll come up, either continue with Suratul Kahf or maybe another course. I'm working on it right now, inshallah. So last time we left off verses 87 to 93, and the discussion was about Dhul Qarnayn. And who do we say that, according to the tafsir, who is Dhul Qarnayn out of the choices? Anybody remember? What is the meaning of Dhul Qarnayn? The literal meaning of Dhul Qarnayn.
I don't recall.
I know we are a little rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Dhul Qarnayn, the literal meaning is the possessor of 2 horns, and so it can refer to a style of headdress that sometimes they used to wear these headdresses and had 2 horns on the side. Like, think about like how Viking headdress is, or it can mean the possessor of the 2 passageways from east to west. Because remember, he had the capability to go far north, far east, and far west, and the travels that he made. So out of the 4 possibilities that we mentioned, one was Suleiman the prophet, alayhi salam, one was Nimrod, one was Cyrus the Great, and one was Alexander the Great. Which one of those are the likely possibility, according to some of the tafsir scholars? Any of them? Take a guess. It's okay to be wrong. Nobody want to be wrong. So, according to the most correct opinion, and Allah knows best, is Cyrus the Great is considered Dhul Qarnayn. Some have said Alexander the Great, but he wasn't really a righteous leader, because this is the concept of Dhul Qarnayn, is showing us righteousness that's going to be prevalent at the end of time, and it's like a last flash before the judgment day. And he was given everything that he needed for these travels that he was making. And so remember, he traveled where the sun set, and so that was the far west, and he went to the far east, and he came across 3 kinds of people. That there were people who were non-believers, there were people who scarcely understood anything he said, and then there were people who had no protection from the sun. And so these are the 3 categories that he came across. And so all of this was an example of a just leader, and giving them the options. Allah said you can forgive them or you can punish them, and He chose to forgive them. Because normally when a leader takes control of a town or area or region, what do they usually do?
The sword, the strength.
They attack them, they pillage, they plunder, they take their property, and then the leader, whoever's the conqueror, has the choice to really, like, like take over the land or take the captives or whatever they can do. And most wars, they're not like that. So this is an example of a just leader, and is also a reflection of the Prophet ﷺ, who, when he, conquered lands from the disbelievers and went to war with them, one of the traditions was that if they wanted their freedom, they had to teach Muslims how to read. He would give them free. Some of the women that, if they were captured as captives, he would, like some of them he married, like a couple of his wives, they were captives in war and things like that. And then we talked about when he traveled to the east. And so some say that it was like as far east as China, some areas like that, the Maldives. We talked about places, Japan, where the Aboriginal people are. And one of the tafsirs that says that these people who lived in burrows, they lived underground. So this is the people who didn't have any protection from the sun, meaning that they were like unclothed, or the sun was too hot for them to, so in the region that they lived in. So they said it's the far east. And then there was an example we gave of the Sentinelese tribe. So these are the people who lived, these are people who were never conquered, even till today. They were never conquered by Europeans. And also the Maldives. So these are like islands that are far east before you get to like New Zealand, right? And I think around the time when you get to New Zealand, it's kind of like, if you look on the map, that actually starts to, like, it's east, but then it like starts to west, because you can get to these places from the Pacific Ocean. And the Pacific Ocean is considered west. All right, so. And then and the tafsir that we use, Jalalain, the tafsir of Jalalain, they describe these people as Zanji. You know what Zanji means? It means that they were black people. So these were people, who they don't need to be in the sun because they have melanin, so melanin magic is a real thing, we thank Allah for giving it to us. And then he talked about the people that he couldn't communicate with when he traveled north. And this is considered the area of Turkey, Central Asia, and Russia, where he came across these people. And that's where we left off. And these are people who could barely understand the word that he said, which was ayat 93. And so now, inshallah, so any questions on that? I just want a quick review because it was some time since we really connected. So you can go back and read those verses. So now we at verse 94 and verse 95. Let me get that up. So, Layla, would you like to volunteer to read those verses?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me know when I can start.
Yeah, you can go.
Oh, do you have a PowerPoint up or no?
Oh, no. Let me get that up.
It's usually up, so
Yeah, I know. That's how that's how rusty it is. Gotta shake the rust off. All right. Okay. Okay, let's get that up. One second. Okay, so I don't know if it shows up. Sometimes on the slideshow, the verses show up like backwards, but I think this is I think you can read it there. Yeah, we ready.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خيرا على sorry يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فأعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So anybody have their English up to read the English? If not, I'll go. Ayahs 94, 95. You got it? Oh, you want to read it?
Yeah, read it.
Okay.
They said, O Dul Carmine, indeed, Gog and Magog are great corruptors in the land. So may we assign for you an expenditure that you might make between us and them a barrier. He said, that in which my Lord has established me is better than what you offer. But assist me with strength, example, manpower. I will make between you and them a dam.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, so let's discuss these two verses real quick. So, who are the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj, which is translated as the Gog and Magog people? So these people were basically savages, all right? So these were two tribes that used to come down from the mountains to plunder and pillage these people that Dhul-Qarnayn had reached in this Central Asia, Russia area. And they used to cause chaos and destruction, plunder and pillage. And so, some of the stuff is always related because we have a term that we use like to run down on somebody. So they were literally running down from the mountains, taking what they want from these people, bullying them, doing whatever they were. And these people didn't have any strength to stop them, right? And so they caused chaos and destruction. And some Tafsir scholars have identified them as the Mongols and the Tartars, right? As these two tribes. And some say that any nomadic tribes, because the indication for Suratul Kahf is that these people will be a lot of people, and some say it's symbolic into a lot of just chaos and corruption in general. And so when we think about here on the PowerPoint, I put in the parentheses the Khazars. Anybody know what the Khazars are? Anybody online? Anybody know who the Khazars are?
No.
So the Khazars are people who have moved, and this Khazar is in this Central Asia area. You look on the map, it is a people who adapted Judaism as their religion, and they kind of hid out in it. And so these became what are known as the Zionists. And so the difference between the Yahud and the Zionists, that the Yahud actually have a religious foundation, but the Zionists take part of the religion, but they are mostly secular. And so the Zionists are behind a lot of the stuff, the banking system in America. And when you see these people who are claiming that they're Yahoo, like for instance, one of them name is Larry Ellison. You all know who Larry Ellison is? Is a rich Israeli person, a Zionist, who just bought TikTok, CBS, NBC, and all of the stations that we get our news from. They're manipulating the news. And so this could be a possible symbolic meaning of the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj causing chaos and corruption, because what are these news things doing? What are all of these social media, TikTok, all of this stuff? It's all corruption. It's all debauchery. It's all this stuff that is corrupting our morals, right? And they're doing more and more studies showing now that the longer that you engage in social media, that it having an impact on your brain and all this kind of stuff, right? And I heard a saying recently that they said that the atomic bomb of this generation is information. The stuff that you have access to all the time, so much information, so much knowledge. how do you sift through all of this stuff in these times? A lot of people don't know, and a lot of it's causing, confusion and division, and people don't know which way to go. They don't know what to believe. And now with the growing AI, you don't even know what's real no more. And like if you look at these videos more and more, some of this stuff looks really real, and it's AI. So all of this stuff, all of this stuff can apply, and Allah knows best. And so it can be those tribes, but I put the Khazars because these are the people who move from that area, and they are behind a lot of stuff in the world that's causing this chaos. So Allah knows best, but that's something we should know. And so we make a difference between, the Yahoo who really follow the Torah, follow the Judaism, because they have honor with us as Muslims. Allah calls the Jews and Christians Ahlul Kitab. Ahlul Kitab is an honor title for those people because they receive a revelation. But these people who claim that they are Jews and claim that everybody who speaks out against their aggressions and their atrocities, that you're anti-Semitic. No, we anti you killing people unjustly, killing the people who have no army in Philistine, which is 83% of them are women and children, shooting children randomly and discreetly, And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the oppression from that land and destroy those oppressors, because that's the only thing they're going to understand. There's not going to be any two-state solution or any kind of rectification in that land. Those people have to be removed. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the Muslims the izzah to do it. Okay. And so that's one explanation. And so when they asked the people who he went to, when they asked for assistance, they said, we will give you something, if you can build this wall. And so he said, all the resources I have is way more than what you can give me. So remember previously we talked about Dhul Qarnayn. He was traveling these distances from the east and west. That's one of the meanings of Dhul Qarnayn, the possessor of the two horns, or the possessor of the region of the east and the west, that he had all of the stuff that he needed in his, what do you call it? In his traveling thing, right? So he was like, he was almost like a city. He was like a traveling city, a traveling Home Depot. Everything that he needed to make these journeys, which some of the tafsirs explained that these were years that these took place, that these were years, right? And so he said, no, I have everything I need, but he gave them something which like inclusive assistance. So did anybody heard of this term, inclusive assistance? So it means like if somebody's not equipped to help you, you make them feel like that the part of they're doing is something significant, right? So say if you go on this, so say for instance, if you see somebody homeless outside and they be like, okay, I got $2, I'm trying to get something to eat. So instead of making them feel like that their $2 is insignificant, make them feel like, okay, that their $2 is adding to it, like say you take them in the store, but like, I need $2 more. Can you help me? You're really covering it, but make them feel like that they're inclusive in what they're doing. And so this is a strategy of effective leaders to make people feel like that they are part of something. So he basically said, there's nothing that he basically telling them, there's nothing that you can give me. I have everything I need. But what you can do is help me to build this wall. And so basically he said, put yours with mine, put it in the pot. The pot is already big, but put yours in the pot too. So you can feel like, that I'm not coming here to control you. Because what happens when leaders, if they give you assistance or give you, whatever, they feel like they control you. So he didn't want to make them feel like that. So just help me, right? Basically, he's saying, help me to help you, right? Inshallah. Is that clear or? Okay. So
Yes.
the explanation of those two verses. All right, and so we go to the next two, inshallah. Actually, I wanted to relate this hadith. So this is hadith related to the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj. So this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah the Almighty will say on the day of resurrection. So if it's a hadith that says Allah will say, what kind of hadith is that? Anybody? Hadith Qudsi. What's the meaning of hadith Qudsi?
It's sacred hadith, meaning Allah spoke it, but it was revealed to the Prophet. So
right. So it's similar to revelation of the Quran, but it's a hadith Qudsi, meaning that the Prophet ﷺ was given the opportunity to relay in his words. So it's not like the Quran as word for word, right? It's not like the Quran. The Quran is word for word conveyed to the Prophet ﷺ, and he had to convey it just as it was. But the hadith Qudsi, the Prophet ﷺ was given permission to convey it in his words, but it's Allah's words. So it's similar to the revelation of the Quran, but it's not the same thing. Right. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah the Almighty will say on the day of resurrection, O Adam. Adam will reply, I am at your service and all good is in your hand. Allah will say, get up and take out the people of the hellfire from amongst your descendants. And Adam will say, O Allah, and who are the people of the hellfire? Allah will say, from every 1,000, take out 999 to the fire and one to paradise. Thereupon, children will become hoary-headed. Every pregnant female will have a miscarriage, and one will see mankind as drunken, yet they will not be drunken, but dreadful will be the wrath of Allah. And so here is describing at the time right before the day of judgment is established, this is how the world will be. When children will be hoary-headed. So this would mean like when young people will have gray. And that's some of us. You know, I know people younger than me, and I'll be 55, inshallah, soon. They have a head full of gray hair, you know. So all of these things have to come to pass. And so when these things happen, mankind is drunken. What are we seeing now? Whenever you get a crowd of people, they're acting, you know, there's chaos, rioting, demonstrations, all of this stuff is happening. And this won't even be the wrath of Allah. This is just a precursor to the end of the world. This was hard on them, the companions, understanding, trying to figure out who are these 99 of 1,000 people. It's 1,000, right? Yeah, out of these 1,000 people, 999. So the first thing they're thinking, man, that might be us. So they like, you know, and so they asked, O Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which one of us is that one who will be taken to paradise? And he said, rejoice, for it is one from you and 1,000 from Gog and Magog, the Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So there are a lot of things to unpack just in this hadith, but it's saying that the Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be in number. And so that's also an indication that it might not just be two tribes. It might be any people who are corrupt at the end of the time, which will be the majority. Which will be the majority of who are non-believers. So all of this stuff is connected, that it's no coincidence that the majority of people in the world, you know, the 9 billion people, the majority of people are disbelievers, right? And so he said, rejoice, for the people who are from the one that's put in paradise is from the believers, the Muslims. And the 1,000 or the 999 is from the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj. And so whatever interpretation that you follow will make sense to you, even still, it shows that the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj, because these are real human people, it will be a lot of people, right? And even if it's symbolic, it also means it will be a lot of chaos and destruction. All the stuff that we're seeing now, which should give us conviction of the belief of the judgment day, of the belief of this fleeting life of this world, and that it's coming to an end. So I thought I would share that hadith. Any questions on that? And this also should tell us that we should always have a positive mindset, that even though we don't know what our end state going to be, and that even we might land in hell for a period of time, we should have the mindset that Jannah is written for us because of the belief that was given to us, and that Allah chose us for this mercy for the next life. And so, but you don't dwell on that. You know, you don't dwell on that. You still work hard. You still keep up your prayers. You still do, you know, extra good deeds. Go out of your way, purify your heart. All of these things that we are shown in the example of the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay, let me go to the next one. So verses 96 and 97, could you read those, Layla?
Yes. آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا.
Oh yeah, so verse 98 too. I'm sorry.
قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا وكان وعد ربي حقا.
Suratul Kahf. Okay. So would you read the English, Achi? Verses 96 to 98.
Bring me bars of iron until when he had leveled them between the two mountain walls, he said, blow with bellows until when he had made it like fire. He said, bring me that I may pour over it molten copper. So they, Gog and Magog, were unable to pass over it, nor were they able to effect in it any penetration. Dhul Qarnayn said, this is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord approaches, he will make it level, and ever is the promise of my Lord true.
Okay, shukran. Okay, so verses 96 to 98. So Dhul Qarnayn had built some protection for them. So he said, bring me blocks of iron. And then he said, bring me some molten metal made hot. And then molten copper. And so, you know, these are these metals, copper, especially copper, these are great conductors of energy, right? So, you know, they put copper pipes and stuff in the house because the stuff that goes through it is like a protection. And so he built, so it shows that they had some tools, but they didn't have enough. You know, it wasn't enough the Ya'juj and Ma'juj people to come down and just, you know, just do what they want to do with them at will. So now they're getting some support and some protection. And so he built this wall, and it was a solid, impenetrable structure. And the job he completed thoroughly as charity. And so here's another thing, that when we are asked to do something, or we are doing something as a favor for someone, it shouldn't be just because it's free. That doesn't mean we do a half job, you know. So, you know, and this is a message for us. Anything that we do, we're supposed to do with ihsan, do with our best, even if it's a small task or something great, you know. And, you know, this is, and just think about the business ethics that people use in this country, right? That if you don't have top dollar, you know, they will halfway build a structure, you know. Look how they build our houses as compared to houses that are built in suburbs and other places. Because we don't have the money, so they cut corners, you know, landlords are, you know, slum lords and stuff like that. And it's crazy. So here he is building this spectacle of a structure that, you know, they thought they didn't know what to expect. But he built them a solid wall, you know, that was a thorough job. It was a thorough piece of you know, structure. And it was charity on his part. Because remember, he said, no, I don't need you to pay me for anything, but I'm going to do this, you know, and showing them the signs of what, you know, proper leadership looks like. And so it was a remarkable structure, but then it will become level, that Allah says in the Quran. And so just imagine at that time that they're seeing the wall built, they're seeing it because they are participating in it. You know, they are the, you know, you're on the construction site, they are the ground men. They're bringing the molten, they're bringing the copper, they're bringing all of the tools, and Dhul Qarnayn and his people are putting it together. And so they're seeing this marvelous structure, a wall. And next week, inshallah, I have, I think they did like a discovery where they found the wall of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, or where it's actually located, right? And so now Allah said it will become level. So imagine seeing a solid structure with, you know, so when steel and the copper is molten, then you put it in place and then it becomes sturdy. It's way more reinforced, right? So they seeing this built, And so now they, he told them that it's going to be level. As the time is going to come when that becomes level. And so that was unbelievable at that time. But it's because of the cut of Allah who subhanahu wa ta'ala for what's coming next that this has to come to pass. And so, figuratively, when we think about it, how the world is going to be, that it seems strong, impenetrable, that it's never going to end. And it's a sign for the disbelievers, because they're in the world, they control everything, they own everything, they don't share anything. The top people who have the most wealth in this country and around the world, they have enough to end world poverty 4 times over. The richest people in the world have enough to end world poverty 4 times over. And they will still be rich, but they won't do it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing them in this revelation how the world, because this is not, and they're blind because they're thinking that it's not going to come to an end, and they're finding ways to preserve it. But look what's happening. The world is ending right before their eyes, right? And so this must come to pass. So he's giving them a warning, like, yeah, this is protection for a time, but there's going to come a time where this thing is going to be leveled, right? So imagine, I'm trying to think of a building in our time. That's like a say, somebody could say Fort Knox or something, an impenetrable fortress that he's telling them is going to be leveled. They can't think of that at that time, but now is the time is going to come, and we are closer to that time where it's going to be leveled. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we'll do verses 99 to 101. So Leah, you can read those verses.
وتركنا بعضهم يومئذ يموج في بعض ونفخ في الصور فجمعناهم جمعا وعرضنا جهنم يومئذ للكافرين عرضا الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكانوا لا يستطيعون سمعا.
So you read the translation for us, brother?
And we will leave them that day surging over each other, and then the horn will be blown, and we will assemble them in one assembly. And we will present hell that day to the disbelievers on display. Those whose eyes have been within a cover removed from my remembrance, and they were not able to hear.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, so these are the last verses we're going to discuss today. So verse 99. So this were things that will happen near the end. So think about the wisdom in all of this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us an example in this surah of how it's going to be in the end. That corruption, wickedness will be rampant, and the people who are righteous will be few. And then he's giving us like one last flash in the pan of a righteous leader. So Dhul Qarnayn was a righteous leader. And so, but there'll come a time that won't happen. He's taking up the task for people who are unable to defend themselves. He got the drop on these other tribes that he come across, and he could have just conquered them and wiped them out, but he invited them to the true way, helped them out and stuff like that. So all of this is a precursor before the end of times really happen, And so then it says, when that time comes to pass, when the wall will be leveled, right, to the ground. And it says that these people, the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj, they will be like waves surging on the day they break through the barrier, meaning that they will overwhelm the world, right? The trumpet will be blown twice by the angel Israfil, and the first time will level everyone, and the second one, it will resurrect everyone, right? And so we know, according to Islam, that before the judgment day is established, that there will be great corruption in the world, and there will be major signs and minor signs, and then these things will start to happen. And I believe when it's a hadith, I can't remember, but then when Isa alayhi salam, when he comes back, to fight the Dajjal, right? That there will be a years, like 40 years of turmoil, and then like 40 years of just peace, and then the end of the world will start to happen, right? And so, of course, this wall was a real wall, and they will come in where they will break through the barrier, right? They will break through the barrier once it starts to happen. There will be signs of the end of the world, and then the trumpet will be blown, right? And so this shows you that the times that we live in, that we have to find solace and comfort in the remembrance of Allah who's dependent with Allah in our prayers and our du'as, because all of these things are protection. And so in the revelation that Allah sent down is showing us a precursor of how it will be, So then the angel Israfil, out of those four angels, which are those four angels that we read about? Well, there's actually 10 angels. Anybody know the name of the 10 angels that is necessary for us to know as Muslims? Everybody know the first one. Who's the archangel? Jibril, in charge of revelation. What's the next one? I just gave you the name right here, Israfil, the one that will blow the trumpet. What about the other angel? Y'all online can jump in too. So we got Jibril, Israfil, who will blow the trumpet on the judgment day. Give me two more. It said Michael, but we speak in Arabic and not English. Mikhail. Yeah. What is he responsible for? He's responsible for weather patterns and stuff like that. And what about the other angel? We got Jibril, Mikhail, Israfil, the blow of the trumpet, and one more. We should all know this one. Maybe except for Wajida, because she's a new Muslim. She just took Shahada. Was it last month? Assalamu alaikum, Sister Wajida. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, you get a pass because I know you're a brand new Muslim, but these other old veterans over here.
Did we say Munkar and Nakir already?
No, but you gave us two. Munkar and Nakir. Who is Munkar and Nakir?
The angels that ask you the questions in the grave.
Yes. So that's how many is that? That's 5.
Malik. No, the angel that guards the hellfire. It's not Malik, right?
Yes.
Oh.
The angel that guards the hellfire.
The angel that guards paradise.
Yeah, what's his name?
Can you give me a letter?
R.
Ridwan.
Would you think this is give you a letter? It's saying what's the name of that show?
Jeopardy.
Yeah, not Jeopardy.
Oh no. Spin the Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. This ain't no Wheel of Fortune. Give you a letter.
Well,
Okay.
I guess, didn't I?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, good work. And this guy want a vow. Ain't no vows. Yeah, I know Pat Sajak be drunk on that show. So, okay, we got 3 more. So
Did
we
we say
said,
Azrael? Is it Azrael?
oh yeah, that's one. Who is Azrael? Azrael.
Azrael.
Well, what's his other name?
I don't recall.
He's also known as Malikul Maut.
Oh, the angel of death.
The angel of death. Okay. So we got Jibril, Mikhail, Israfil, Munkar, Nakir, Malik, Ridwan, Israel, or Malikul Maut. 2 more.
The angels on your shoulders.
Yeah, what are their names?
I don't recall.
Okay. Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna give you the names on one condition. You got to find the surah and the verse that they mentioned there. So Raqib and Atid. Raqib and Atid. So these are the angels that record the angels of the arch, but these are not the ones you have to know by necessity. So most books, when they're teaching the basics, you need to know these 10 angels that's mentioned in the Quran. Yeah, but there are other angels, of course, the angels who carry the arch, other angels, stuff like that. Right. And so the angels, what are their characteristics?
They don't sin. They obey like Allah's every command.
Mm-hmm. What are they created from?
Light.
Okay. They don't age and they don't have gender. Yeah, they don't sin. They're made of light, and they also can take human forms. All right. Good. So Rakib and Atid, somebody has to find that and bring it for next week's class. If you put in the WhatsApp group, that'd be great. But if not, you have a whole week. I actually should
You
make
said
that.
find out what surah they're mentioned in?
Huh?
You said
There's
find
a
out what
surah
surah?
and a surah and an ayat they mentioned in the Quran, Rakib and Atid. All of these angels are mentioned in the Quran, actually. I should actually ought to bring the reference for all of them. But since we're a little rusty and I've been fell off, I'm going to give you all a break. Okay. All right, good. So that day will come, the angel Israfil. So when they break through the barrier, so of course the Yajuj and Majuj, they will continue their reign of terror, and we should look at some of these things today as a precursor to these things happening, wars and famine all over the world, we're on the brink of World War III. This clown that's in power right now, doing all this stuff, tariffs, got ice around, all of this stuff, to me, and Allah knows best, are like the same signs as the Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Nomadic tribes, people who have the rape and pillaging and plunder, and they made it law. They made it lawful to do it, So I believe all of that is connected, But I don't want to say for certain because, we don't get that explicitly in explanations. And so then it says hellfire will be on display, meaning it will be brought close for an extra sense of fear and sadness, and not for the believers, but for the disbelievers. And so this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always giving us indications that the iman that we have, the faith that we have, and the practice of Islam that we do is a means of salvation, although we can't say for certain, we can't say for certain, And then who are these people? When we call them disbelievers or kuffar, it's a certain kind of disbeliever, right? So we already know everybody can't go and everybody's not going to make it. But who are these people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to put hellfire on display, meaning it's going to come close to them where they can see when the punishment is going to, so you're getting a glimpse of what your punishment is going to be like. And just like there's hadith that the believer will be shown his place in Jannah, in the grave. So who are these people? So it's not just a regular person that's non-Muslim. This is very, very important. It's not just a person who is non-Muslim, because most of us, we were non-Muslims at one time as converts, And I believe all of us except Layla. And I don't know, Salim, were you a convert as well? Brother Salim, you there? Not there. Well, yeah, he should be working anyway. So wait a minute, let me see if he puts something in the chat. Because Salim be on the clock eating up Mr. Charlie's time. He supposed to be working. He on here. Yeah, he was a convert as well. So, and my daughter Layla is the only one who was born into Islam. All of us were converts, right? And so, if we can't just say easily the people that were, kuffar, because at times we were people who were disbelievers or not receiving the message. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose us to go on the journey that we received the message. That's a different from a person who is a kafir. What is a kafir? Anybody know the meaning of the word kafir?
Someone who doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the last day.
Yeah, someone who doesn't believe in Allah in the last day. But then more than that, they reject the message when it comes to them. and they are belligerent about it. You know, someone be like, I don't want to hear about that Islam stuff, and they will fight you for it. These are the kind of people who will be shown the hellfire. These are the people who, you know, you go online and they, you know, they say some really crazy stuff. F Islam, you know. Well, you had to be loud. You had these people one time saying Allah is gay. Stuff that make you want to take somebody's head off, right? But these are the people who reject the truth. And one of their signs is that they're spiritually and morally deprived, right? And so these are the people who hellfire will be brought close. And we don't know who they are, because it's possible that a person can be an enemy of Islam and Allah turns it around for them, that they be a person of righteousness. So what does that tell us? That we have to be a great example in da'wah, and if we're not articulate enough to give da'wah, at least be a blazing example of what it means to practice Islam. That when people engage us, they get a feeling of goodness. They get a feeling of, you know, this person is different. They're generous. They're giving. They're nice. They prefer me over themselves. That all of that is da'wah. You know, speaking to people kindly, ask them how their day, ask them how can you help them. All of that is da'wah, you know, and this is standard in Islam. This is the beauty of the deen, that these things are standard in Islam, you know. And so, and we should remember that we're engaging people. Sometimes they talk out of ignorance, and then after a while, when you engage people, you can tell someone who might be genuinely interested or genuinely just messing with you, you know. And so, but da'wah, you know, good, effective da'wah, you know, that, you know, even if it doesn't reach a person, they will have a healthy respect for it, you know. And so we have to do our job to make sure that we are reaching people, because there are some people who are going to totally reject the truth. You know, I was reading some stuff online, and I was like, man, I hope I never run into any of these people in person. But online is what gives them the safety. That's why they're saying it, you know. Take all of them and burn them. You know, there was one I was reading before we closed. It was a black guy too, and I'm like, you know, in my mind, I'm like, this ninja, he was upset because in Patterson, New Jersey, it's like the first major Muslim city, or maybe the first one in New Jersey, you know, that is officially, like, they're declaring it a Muslim city. So the foreigners, they're concentrated up there, the immigrant Muslims. And so when you go to those places, the Muslims are alive and thriving, and they kind of almost taking over the city, and not by any kind of like force, just by living there, moving together, doing business, getting in politics. In Patterson, New Jersey, it's a thriving, it's just about a Muslim city. And so, you know, he was like, wish these people go back where they came from. And then you hear some of the people saying some really, really nasty stuff about Islam. We kind of getting close to the end, so we won't do Salawat tonight. But inshallah, as we do the next two classes, we'll get back on it. And then when we start, after we finish this, complete this section, then every week after that, we'll just do a quick review, a couple explanation highlights, and then we'll concentrate on the Salawat. All right. So please forgive me, I went a little longer than I had planned. And so these are people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they won't be able to see or hear, even though they will have sight and hearing. They won't be able to perceive, and they won't be able to comprehend. And you come across people like that all the time. Somebody's intelligent, they just don't get it though. Somebody can hear what you're saying, but it don't register. Somebody can see something and they still don't believe it. So it's by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, you know, that he makes openings for people with their understanding, and Allah can put a seal, as he said in the Quran, he puts a seal on their hearing, sight, and their intellect. And so these people, because they deny Islam, they reject the truth, they mock people who are religious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deprive them, you know. And so every time we see these kind of people, we have to thank Allah for the mercy he has extended to us by making an opening for us to be believers, because, you know, we were people on the brink of hell. We were people who didn't want to hear nothing about no religion or, you know, that Muslim stuff or whatever, you know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made an opening. So we are people that he's chosen, and we should wear that with honor and be grateful at every turn that he chose us to be his servants. you know. Okay, Tayyip. So that's the end of that. So that's ayahs 101. And then next week we'll go from this 102. We'll try to finish them all next week. Inshallah, just depending on how this time goes. We'll try to finish all of because there's only 110 verses. We've covered 101, so it's 9 verses left to have a discussion on. And we'll try to finish them all next week, inshallah. And then as the season, the time goes back, I think it's the last week of October, the first week of November. Maybe we'll move the class back to after Isha. So Isha will be coming in like 6 something. And so we'll take a poll. You guys decide what we want to do. So we'll keep it between Maghrib and Isha, or we can just go after Isha and maybe have a little more time. So the salats will be coming in back to back. So inshallah, we'll discuss that. Any questions on what we talked about tonight?
No questions.
Okay. Sister Wajida, how are you coming along?
Good.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Glad you could join us tonight. And Brother Salim, man, you on your break, or you eating up Mr. Charlie's time, man? Okay. Yeah, he eating up Mr. Charlie's time. MashaAllah. Okay, Tayyip. So we'll end there, and yeah, please excuse me that we didn't. Yeah, she's. I think she might be already in the sisters only class. Inshallah. So we'll stop there. So there are no questions. So the last part is kind of bring all of this to a close, and so we'll review from the beginning. I'll try to do all the last 9 ayats in one group, or maybe we'll split in 2, because this stuff, how it ends, how it comes to an end, is just like remarkable. The whole story, like when you think about this, when you recite it, you be like, man, this only can come from Allah. The whole theme, So inshallah, we'll see how it goes. But we'll resume next week and be close to finishing. And so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you all, keep you all safe. I really appreciate you hanging in there with me. Like I said, I kind of lost the locker room and missing these classes, but inshallah, I'm working my way back, So keep me in dua, inshallah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. I just said that, didn't I? ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. سبحان ربك رب العزة أما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. Alhamdulillah. Okay, inshallah, I'll see you all next week. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.